Alright, so today we're going to be taking the steering wheel off the IS300. The main thing, the first thing you want to do is unhook the battery, because if you don't unhook the battery, you're going to end up taking an airbag to the face, and that's going to be pretty rough on a person, I think. So what you have to have is a T30. What I've got is on a ratchet, but a T30 bit, and it goes right underneath. So like if your steering wheel is straight, it's under both sides right here, underneath, like right directly right in here. So you just take those dudes off. I was going to try to have this knocked out before my son got out of school, but I don't think I'm going to. He may not stop by, but just in case. I'm running behind. I should already had this done, but I'll hear him pull up. He's in one of my trucks. So you take your T30 out right there. That should be it. And I think I already got the other one started loose here. And they're kind of up in there, so it takes just a second to find them. But a T30 is what this is. And they make it in I think just almost like an Allen wrench kind of deal. And once you get it, I may have more to take off. Get it all the way out. All right. I think there's only two. Yep. Pretty sure there's only two. Alright, well, I was going to take my screwdriver and kind of push underneath the actual bolt and try to flick it out as I was backing it out. But that ain't going to work, so what I did is I'm pulling back on the actual piece itself, and so it seems like it's letting me gain some slack off of it here. Yeah, so it's like it quit turning, but it wasn't letting it go. Alright, so right here there's a clip, and this actually goes to your airbag. So this makes your airbag active, this little assembly. So you definitely want to take it out, because you're going to do away with your airbag. And I gotta say, if you're going to drive this car daily, you need to think about pulling this airbag out. You need to debate whether or not you're going to drive this car without an airbag. Not telling you what to do. This is going to be a strictly track car, and so we don't necessarily condone taking the airbag out. But for our purposes of what we're going to do with it, alright, so this little white clip, it slides. It actually slides uphill away from the actual plug, so it just slides. It's not a push down or a whatever. It's a little nifty slide deal that actually goes up. So that's the motion to get that to turn loose, and then that's all it is to your airbag. And you can see where the screws actually went into the side of this. And so now, one thing you got to keep in mind, when you go back on, you want everything to be straight. Alright, so I'm trying to keep your steering wheel straight all you can. If it locks, that's fine, or if it turns, that's fine. Just as long as whenever you're ready to reinstall it, that'll come into play, so your steering wheel's not crooked. And this is a 19 millimeter. The bolt in the center of the steering wheel is a 19. I usually just take mine off with a socket. You can use a ratchet, whatever. You don't have to have impact or anything. A regular ratchet, and you just have to have somebody hold it, or you can lock it and break it loose. But this is supposed to be kind of a pain getting them off. Alright, so I'm going to try my 2-jaw pullers. But in here we got a plug. You push up right there. I think I hear my boy. Right there, and that pulls out. So that leaves this jewel. So I'm going to use my 3 jaws and see if I can get it out. Alright, so I took my 2-bolt steering wheel puller, and you can Google what that is. It looks like it's got like 3 different out pieces on this side and a single this way that are open, and you drop a bolt in them, and because there's a bolt hole on each side of this, and it's got the center piece that you actually tighten. And so what it does, it locks the steering wheel and pushes on the actual center bolt, and it pushes it off. And so on this, something I didn't notice too earlier, there's a ground wire here. It doesn't go to anything, but as you're pulling this off, if you need to get down in here, this little clip does unplug, and you can kind of push it down here to get your bolts in. And when you pull this off, this wire actually is on this piece. So kind of keep that in mind. So this piece, the bottom had 2 screws here, screw here, and the top just snaps up off of it. And this had 4 bolts in it here. So you unbolt that, and it just rolls forward. And there's 2 plugs in this. Now, you won't need these plugs anymore. There's a way to wire the horn in. I'm not going to. I don't think we're going to be honking at anybody on the drift track. We might. And so this little deal flips. There's a push button style piece to get that off. This is your clock spring that tells you in relationship where your car's turned and keeps tension on it and all that. So, and part of your airbags assembly is controlled off of the yellow plugs. Usually your yellows are your airbags. And then these 2, when you put your bottom piece back on, you can actually just hide these wires. You won't need those for anything after this point. So we will get this piece mounted back on. There we go. Okay. And like I say, the bottom is the only piece that gets the screws. There's a screw there and screw underneath. And they are just your standard Phillips screw. Phillips being the 4-way, if you don't know what that is. Again, I don't do any of this stuff to insult anyone's intelligence at all. I just, in my mind, I try to approach it as if I was teaching my son, or if there's somebody that just has no experience with cars and they don't have a clue where to even start. So you kind of, I don't want to call it dumbing it down, because that just sounds horrible, but simplifying it to where it's basic knowledge. If you don't have experience with any tools, you don't know what your tools are, you don't know really anything about cars or any of that type of stuff. So if you've worked in an office your entire life and you've never worked on a car, but you start wanting to do things and you just want to get into it or try it, or if you just don't have the money, that's where I actually got into cars. I didn't have money when I was a kid. We didn't have, when I grew up, I don't want to be a pity story, but we didn't have just piles of money, you know. We were less than fortunate when it comes to finances. I don't want to say we were poor, but I mean, because poor can be determined many ways, you know. Financially, yeah, we were poor as far as, you know, we were fed and clothed, and I didn't even know shoes had a brand on them until I was like 15 or 16. So, you know, that's, I don't give that sob story, but that's the backstory of why I've kind of figured out how to work on cars. It's just been something that you have a choice, you know what I mean? You didn't have the money to fix it. You had to figure out how to fix it yourself. So, let me hunt these screws. I'll get these screws in, and then I'll come back on before I start putting anything else on. But I'm gonna get these screws found. I've got our screws. The 2 top ones go here, and you don't want to go crazy tight on these things. Just snug them in good, because it is a plastic housing they go into. The bottom one I left it kind of out so you can see exactly where it goes in. And so right here, and it goes that way instead of like up. So it goes like at this angle. So if you can see that, it goes at this angle. And it's a Phillips as well. And pretty much you got that put back together at this point. The whole assembly, everything's in, and you take your wires and you push them back here, because we're not going to need them again. This car won't have a horn, and we won't have, because you can actually splice into these and get your horn and all that. But we're not going to do all that, and your airbags. So we're not going to deal with any of that. Okay. So now on your adapter hub, that's your first piece to go on. If you'll notice, it has, I know it's gonna be hard to see, but there's a white dot right there. That white dot faces up, like so. Now, one thing you must make sure, if at any point you've turned your steering wheel here, this will determine which way your steering wheel's clocked. So if I put this on, and then to straighten my steering wheel, it has to be turned this much. Well, now my steering wheel will be turned that much. You see what I'm saying? So when I bolt this down, that'll mess up the location of those bolt holes, and that'll put me this away, you know. So you definitely want to make sure your wheels are straight, and you may have to adjust that, but you know, you want to make sure your wheels are perfectly straight on the car, and then put this up. So if you have to unlock the steering, which I'm going to, unlock the steering and turn it straight to get your up and down mark, you need to do that now before you put that bolt on, if that makes any sense. And I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it clear enough or anything, but you got to understand, if that white dot is up, even though I'm putting it up now, if my wheels are turned left or right, then when I actually turn them straight, once it all goes together, it'll be off, if that makes sense. So I need to check that. All right, so I may have to stop the camera to check, get my fat butt. But yeah, to get the wheels actually straight real quick. Now, we're still going to get an alignment and stuff on this car when we get completely done. And these have really, really tiny teeth all the way through there. And so you might still be a tooth off, but if you're planning on getting alignment, they can fix that. So what they will actually do is lock the steering straight and adjust the wheels in to be perfectly aligned. So you want to get it as close as you can if you're going to get an alignment. Don't just throw it on there and be like, I'm going to get an alignment, they'll fix it. When you get it on here, you want the front wheels to be as straight as you can. And again, because it's got such small teeth, it may have to be clocked just a little to get it straight, you know, so there's one, and there's the next. So, you know, there's not a lot of room in those little gears. So, all right, so you got your gears on, and I think this thing only takes like 35 foot-pound or so, this bolt. And the actual nut, pretty sure it's only like 35 pounds. So we're just going to take our impact and we're going to call that installed. And with the steering wheel, you're provided some Allen head bolts, and once you get this piece bolted on, now the quick disconnects are what we're going to put on next. And this thing goes in, this is where it actually disconnects from. Well, this piece goes onto that. Now it comes with some like washer top spacers right here. If you want to adapt it up, or you know, I think that's probably a ground wire, one of them right there, the actual pieces. There's two of those. I've not used those. You can, I guess. But anyway, right here, the NRG actually has, it's hard to see maybe, it's got like an indentation right there above the name, and so it will go straight up. Remember when I said if your steering wheel ain't straight, it will be off, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so And we may go back later and put some Loctite on these or something, just a mild grade, if it tries to loosen up on us, because this is something that you don't want to play around with. And so as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go get some and put on them just to be safe, because my kid's driving this car. I went ahead and got some Loctite just to go back over these. Now, if this was a customer's car, I would either use a lock washer or some type of something, but I'd let them tell me, you know, if they ever planned on changing the steering wheel or something. Sometimes the Loctite can be a pain in the butt, but this is my son's car, and worst case, we have to, if we can't get them off later, which we should, there shouldn't be no problem, but I just grind the head off the bolt and pull the piece off and get some vice grips and turn it and take it off. But this being my son's car, I'm not willing to risk anything for my son getting hurt over, you know, not putting something on the bolts. Lock washers will work, and we're just using a mild Loctite. You can use fingernail polish if you're in the middle of this and you're like, oh crap, I don't have lock washers or anything. You can actually take fingernail polish and put on these, and it will actually adds a locking, what is the word I'm looking for, like it will cause the bolt to stick in there more so than just without something else on it. So nail polish will work as a locking agent is the word I'm looking for. So, and you just come with a Allen wrench, and now that we've got Loctite on them, we don't have to go super crazy on them, and plus they're just a small bolt here, and I'll tighten them in a star pattern. When I go to torquing them down a little bit, I'll actually put a little more something on them to tighten them down. Right now, just trying to align everything. And I put a very small amount of Loctite when I do a bolt, and I put it on the very end, because when you run it up, you run it through where it lives, it will actually wash the Loctite up on the bolt more so as you're going deeper on the threads. That Loctite will come up the thread some, and you don't want your entire bolt covered in Loctite, or you're going to be in for a bad day. And again, like anything, always put all your bolts in before you start cinching down on it. Because sometimes if it's a machined part, billet or something, or something somebody's welded, not all the holes will line up like some of your manifolds and stuff. You always want to start a bolt on every corner before you tighten one. So you might tighten one and it might get to that last one and it just won't fit. So that's probably all you want to go right there. Again, we got Loctite on them, so these bad boys shouldn't go anywhere. And you gotta watch these cheaper Allens. They'll try to round off if you put too much torque on them anyway. So alright, we should be good. So we'll do it one more time. I always do it one time just to check everything. And we're good. Alright. So if you'll notice that this locker, the actual lock piece, there's bearings inside there all the way around except for certain places here. You'll notice that it has a little opening right there. So that will actually, you gotta pull this piece up, this neck, this collar. That's how you cause it to lock. Once your bearings start getting broke in, it'll work better. But it'll have, see the top dot. See, there's a screw, a threaded screw there. I know it's probably hard to see, but there's a notch, there's a little indentation right there to, not the one that has the bolt in it, but the one, this hole to the right of it. There's a little dot right there, indentation. And so, and that locks that one centered right there. So, and then, you know, like your horn and stuff, you just tuck that stuff down in there like that. Now, it's almost time for this jewel. And we're gonna live right there. So I'm gonna take these bolts out and get this thing ready to install. All right, so we got the cover plate pulled off and we're about to install the steering wheel. And we'll be finishing this little project up. And if you decide to work on cars, you'll learn everything disappears. Like you'll set something down and literally within 3 seconds it'll be gone. But I'm gonna go ahead and do a little Loctite on the steering wheel too, just to add that little bit of security. I have seen these rattle and come off. And so we're gonna, now these bolts here, they come on the steering wheel and they, I think you can actually order different colors. I think they're customizable as far as what colors you install or whatever. And this is aluminum. This actual piece here. So when you torque these down, keep that in mind that this is going into a billet aluminum piece, and billet aluminum has a tendency to strip out super thin. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it will actually strip out extremely easy. Pliable maybe. Whatever that magic word is. But these will, there we go. I can get this one started. Don't cross thread anything. If it's not going perfectly smooth, when you start to tighten it, and if you've already started to tighten it, you've messed up. But you want to, just about everything, sometimes your lug nuts will be a little bit of a pain, but just about anything that you put a bolt in and tighten, it should just immediately spin freely all the way up until it gets as far as it lives to wherever you're putting it. There should be no resistance, the entire thread, you know. And I have seen where if you don't like your steering wheel, they make different couplings, shorter, longer. So if we don't like this one, if it'll fit multiple applications, we got other cars we can put it on. So there's no loss if we don't like it. We can always swap it to a different vehicle. A lot of these are universal. Tried to get this thing done yesterday. When he got out of school, he could see it. But it ended up not getting completely finished before he got off, and here I am in the middle of it and him show up. So the rental's kind of between that and people stopping by. It's hard to film with people here. I don't do anything for the public anymore, but there's a couple of fellas that stop by and just want to hang out and that type of stuff, and I got no problem with that. Just sometimes it does kind of get in the way of trying to get stuff done, but it is what it is at that point. But I can get stuff done with people here. Just can't film anything with somebody here, because a lot of them, you can tell they hadn't been to a Sunday meeting at church in a while. You get my drift, which that don't bother me. I just, you know, it's just, there's younger guys that watch this, and I don't want to be a contributing factor when their parents hear them saying some of the stuff these guys say and be, oh, it's because they watched that video. But that's pretty much this install. But so when we take these out, seeing how they got Loctite on them, I've got a socket set that will fit this pattern here, or these Allen sizes, and it'll rip them out of there. All right, so this is what we got. So let's say you're chilling, you're about to go do something, you decide to put a roll cage in this car, and you got race seats and they sit super close to you and all this stuff. Make sure we got it where we can see it. So this actually is an adjustable deal. All right, so let's say you're suited up, you're drifting and whatever, and doing your thing, and you get situated, you get parked, you're ready to get out of your car, and you've got all your gear on, or your roll cages here now. You reach up, grab this collar, and there you go. Now you got a quick disconnect steering wheel. You ready to get back racing? You just you want to point her up there. You get it a little off, you just turn it, she locks right in. And you always want to make sure she's locked back down. Nothing to it. So you can even put it upside down. You got it completely the wrong way. What's going on here? All right. It will only lock where those dots were. It's the only location it will lock. And so now you see why I was saying you want to line those up, because no matter what you do, the steering wheel won't lock anywhere except where that notch is. Right there. See, so it will always be straight. Your steering wheel will always be straight to your front tires. So if you get an alignment, they'll lock that straight, they'll match your tires. Now what I like, and what you'll see on when I do my car, what I like is there's steering wheels that have like a yellow or red or blue mark. So it's a black, it'll be a black steering wheel or whatever color, and it'll have a mark right here. So when you're drifting, if you're doing all this, you'll see that mark, and that'll tell you where your tires are straight at. So I'll have one of those on mine. This is my son's, and this is the steering wheel he wanted. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm not knocking it with the purple. I guess he's going with like red and purple in this car. We'll do maybe some more purple accent. You got which we're almost done with it. Got the purple e-brake handle. We're almost done with it. I've got, we're waiting on some more parts actually, and I've got to finish plumbing the brakes, but I've decided instead of plumbing the brakes, I want to plumb this first and then pull the lines backwards after the front's done inside the car, and that way I know what I have to add in the back. I know what kind of excess I have under the car, because if I add something, I want to add it down there. I don't want to add it up here if I can get around it. So yeah, but this is our next install. We're waiting on a plate to come in. So all right, that's the long drug out version of the Lexus IS300 steering wheel install. The quick disconnect. And then from this point, if you decide you want a different wheel, all you have to do is unbolt it here and hold it to your quick disconnect, so he can change steering wheels with no issues. Just pull these bolts out. You won't have to go through this whole process again. So yeah, yeah, it's a pretty simple process, straightforward. It doesn't take this long. I you know, kind of ad-libbed and got off point several times, but that's what you got. Finished product. It's smaller. I think it's 130 millimeter, I think it's considered. You can get different sizes, different textures. There's a million different types of steering wheels you can buy, cheaper, expensive. You can buy steering wheels that are $2,000, you know. So once we get all this situated, get the e-brake in, we'll be ready to go drifting. But there is your NRG is the brand of these. And if you're a car guy, you already know NRG. And Villante is Villante, I think it's what it's called. But that's the actual steering wheel with, I don't know what you'd call the coloring on it. It's been dipped. I can actually hydro dip, so this has been hydro dipped, and you can tell right here before they sealed it that it didn't do 100% perfect. Still looks okay, it doesn't look bad, but when you hydro dip, you know what you're looking for. So, yeah, that's our video for today. Appreciate you guys watching. Sorry it drug out so long. I just got a million things. You know, I got a rental we're working on, and I'm trying to escape from all that. So my mind starts wondering all the other things I'm working on, and all these great ideas and information I try to share with the guys. Like if my son was here, I would, you know, still act this way and say these things. I try to teach him things as best I can. But anyway, stick with us on YouTube. You want to follow our videos, you can subscribe and you can add us to your group of people that you watch videos. And there's a bell on there. You hit that bell, and that'll alert you that we've posted another video. So if you'll do all that, that'll actually, you know, let you know that we're doing something different, which we're continually working on stuff. So we're on Instagram, Chesser Drifting. We started our own drift page now. We're getting closer all the time to actually starting. It's cold weather, so we're actually doing the wrench turning part. So when we get to the warmer weather and we start getting some of the stuff finished on the cars, we'll be on the track. So you'll see a lot more drifting stuff coming on soon, video footage. It won't be all just wrench turning. We'll still have some when we're buying new parts and doing repairs and stuff. Because the drifting world, your car will get beat up and skin up, and you'll be replacing parts and tires and that type of thing. So, yeah, so follow us there on the Instagram page. We're on Facebook, Chesser Enterprises, Chesser Motorsports. Own a towing company, Chesser Towing. That's one you hadn't heard, but we don't really tow across country or anything. I'm trying to stay in Tennessee. That's about, and locally. I don't do a lot of it with the rentals and crap. I don't have time. But we do some of that. You might see us at the drift track, and we'll be in the tow truck with a car on the thing. That's how we drive to the track. We're going to get a truck and a trailer eventually. I had one. I done some trading. You know who got it. All right. But yeah, we appreciate you watching the videos. Thank you guys for everything, and everybody that likes and shares, and all my friends for buying our lanyards, and we got some stickers. We're working on some more merch, that type of stuff. But thanks guys, thanks for the sponsors, everything, everybody. See you guys down the road.